We will be recording this, for people that aren't here, the whole thing, but I'd like to welcome everybody and, just go through, my name is Mike Kaler and, I'm the interim kind of new, executive director. We had a few changes over the last, few months here, and, I'm happy to announce that, Gwen, is now the, Gwen is now the director of development, and Erica, who couldn't be here, she is the head of support, the direct support director. So those are some of the changes, and we do have some new faces on our support side. But I'm gonna let you let them introduce themselves as they come up here, because they're gonna be part of our presentation also. But I'd like to say welcome everybody, and I would also like to urge that this is a good place. Any questions you have or anything that you'd like to see on systems and stuff, this is where a lot of that starts, is the discussion here. Do you want to go through introductions or?
So like I said, I'm Gwen Gillespie and I've been here quite some time.
A couple years.
Yeah. Took a little break and I'm back, so glad to help and glad to be back. So we're gonna go and let our staff introduce themselves, and we're gonna move right into law. Just tell us, you know, how you're from, me, whatever you care to share. Good morning, everybody. My name is Liz Heinze, and I've been with CPT for just over 4 years this past October. And I am assisting with Minnesota Tax, and I work with North Dakota Tax Support as well. Thanks for coming today.
I'm Susie Hansen, and I've been with CPT since October 26th. So I am happy to be here and look forward to getting to know you all over the coming hours and years.
I am Julie Grun from CPT, and I started in October 24. I'm kidding. And I look forward to meeting and working with all of you.
I'm Preston Miller. I'm a programmer. I'm probably a lot of you have heard of me, at least. I'm just kind of here so I don't get fined. Jeff Peterson. I support Campbell, Lanco, Campbell Mobile, and Quintel. Been here 6 years. I guess we'll start on here with
Nikki with Mille Lacs County.
Brian with Marshall County.
Alexandra with Marshall County.
Beth with Marshall County.
O'Mara from Wright County. Vicky Mont, Grant County.
Jesse Jacobson, Redwood County.
Sandy Wordish, Redwood County.
Elaine Peterson, Swift.
Andrew Moss, Big Stone. Dan Tuckett, Big Stone.
Rhonda Nelson, Medina.
Now some more Candy Ryan.
Mike Zach, Candy Line.
Jennifer Halverson, Candy, Ohio.
Chad Beth, Murray County. Chris Bomberger, Murray County. Mark Lacey, Lyon County.
Jean Nelson, Lincoln County.
Minnie Kincaid, Northern County.
Marty Sip, Norman County. Stacy Hancock, Douglas County.
Cam Reese, Douglas County.
Patty Lloyd, Todd County.
Chris Adams, Terry County. Mike Wacker, Fulton.
Bonnie Lane, Pope. Jessica Hardy, Wilkin. Michelle Snowball, Wilkin.
Lisa Brown, Whitestone.
Kristen Jackson, Whitestone.
Opportunity to take a request for singing and like one night again. I'm David Grove, Notwood County.
Greg Swanson, Stevens.
Joy Michelson, Stevens. Laura Hopper, Sibley. Ken Rava, Redville.
Doug Bruce, Redwood County.
Dave Drina, Monongalia. Jeff Beers, Monongalia.
Very simple, Sonoma County. Pretty large, Sonoma County.
Well, thank you. Dave, we might be calling on you later. Not saying something up.
Halftime show.
The first thing we'd like to do, and we have, Monty on the Zoom here. He wanted to do, say a few words here.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. I apologize I can't be there, but it is what it is. We have all the valuation notices on order. They're scheduled to ship out the second week of February. We've made all the changes required by the Department of Revenue, and I've reviewed the proofs. They all look good. Envelopes will be shipping out in the next few weeks to everybody that's getting them. Our outsourced companies, both Forum and Prima Data, are ready to service you guys. They're up to date on all the changes and everything. We'll be shipping them forms for the valuation notices and tax statements probably the end of February so that they can do their processing for you guys. The changes that we had this year were very simple. We just updated everything and we made a paragraph change on the back. We are aware of the changes that CPT made, and our outsourcers are taking care of that also. So that's really about all I got. I wish to thank everybody, and I look forward to seeing you at the conference this summer.
Does anyone have any questions for Monty? Okay, well, thank you, Monty.
Gwen, one last thing. If anybody needs to contact me, just please send me an email, and that's the way I communicate the best. So thank you.
Thanks. All right, well, we'll get started here. And for those of you here, just shout out a question if you have it. We're happy to have them, and we'll stop and try to answer it. And for you online, just use your chat, and Mike will be monitoring it, so we'll answer your questions as well. Okay, first thing we're going to go through is tax release that was sent out. Better? Okay. A tax release that was sent out in, it says 9/15, and that's about when it went out. And what it includes is all the new law changes. And we sent this release letter with the release. So if you thought that you wouldn't have to read it, well, guess what? We'll just read it today. Okay, so anyway, the first law change that there was that the TNT's truth and taxation, last year they had required a phone number on the entities that would be county, township, school, and this year they added that you would have to provide a website address of some type. So we didn't have enough room, we felt, in our current 3-line system, and so we just added a 4th line, and our counties were able to put in their information, and that went out on the TNTs. And so that's a done deal, which for TNTs this year. And I know it doesn't really affect you, but only in terms of getting your own TNT for your property. Okay, so the next one is properties with
He's blue, I think.
Yep. Properties with ITIN numbers now will qualify for homestead PTR status. This is a change to how the law was enforced only, I don't remember, if it was 2 or 3 years ago when we had, the big, I don't know what I call it. I hate to use the word debacle, but whatever, with, the DOR telling us, when we submitted our PTR, submission in like April, that there were ITIN numbers on it, and that wasn't allowed for homestead status. So we worked, and I know I worked with a few of you to get that all straightened out, and now we're here. And we will have ITIN numbers to qualify for homestead PTR status. And I don't know if I really need to read the law to you, except in the piece of it's retroactive for homestead applications filed in 2023 and thereafter. Effective for homestead data in 2020. So it will be, well, it's not. And we don't have the actual instructions from the DOR yet for the PTR submission, but I am assuming that it will we'll have to change our programming now back to allowing that. Okay, and I'm sure you all have heard that the first tier of ag for assessment 2024 will go to 3.5 million. And when you create your New Year files, that will automatically load for you. And it will, when you count TC, it will just take effect. As well, for 2024, 4D property has been split into 2 classes. $41, which is actually our current 217 assessment code, qualifying 4D low income with a TC rate of 0.25. Our 218 code will become the 4D2 qualifying community land trust with a TC rate of 0.75. So thanks to Bella Candy for helping us with this. She has the pleasure of actually having community land trust in her county and helped us work with the DOR and such to get this straightened out. So our system will handle it. So the 218 code, and this is for assessment 2024, will be the 4D2 qualifying community land trust. Also, with that code, it will now be a full homestead code. So they will have, and it will be a full homestead code, but the rate will be 0.75, which is a little different, because usually it's 1%. But this will get that rate of 0.75, and they will be able to qualify for PTR. And when you create and do your files, that will just automatically update your percentages and allow you to assign a homestead, and it will be good to go. Val, have you actually done that with that property? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Well, you'll let us know if it isn't right. And this is just the law. Saying that this section allows a unit owned and occupied by a member in good standing of the community land trust to qualify for the new classification of 4D2, provided the requirements of this Minnesota statute are met.
And the classification rate is 0.75. And then, further on in the new law, it gave them homestead status. For the ability to have homestead status. For our assessment abstract for 2024 and beyond, we also made that change. So you see up above is the regular non-homestead 41 at 0.25 and class 42 at 0.75. That's the non-homestead portion. And down below, we added to our non-ag homestead property, the non-ag 42 homestead classification. Also for the 2024 assessment table 25, the homestead exclusion amount has changed. Once again, when you create your files, this will just automatically calculate when you calculate your tax capacity. And what they did is they raised the 0.4 amount from 76,000 to 95,000. So you're eligible to a max of 38,000. And at $517,200, you totally are phased out. Versus, I think it was 413,008. That's where you were phased out before, and now they up that limit as well. Okay, Prism. Favorite thing. Prism has been catching a few parcels that have been given both vet credit and homestead exclusion. And I remember with Chad going round and round with some assessors about how unfair it is, and it probably is, but this is the law. No matter what the ownership is, if there's a vet getting that exclusion on a parcel, there cannot be any homestead exclusion. You can't give a different choice group, like a 100 group, and give it that way. You can't do that. So we're going to help you not do that. And what we did is when you calculate tax capacity, it's going to actually wipe out the homestead exclusion if you have that going on. And we're going to tell you that we did that on your listing you get when you run tax capacity. So here it says that parcels, no homestead credit. And there happen to be 4 listed here, but you probably won't have any. And if you see nothing on this listing, all is good. We decided to not even put it on the listing like the heading. So you're like, all of a sudden, what's this? What's this? If you don't see it, you're good. Any questions so far? Okay. Another big law was the Daniels Law. This is a federal law. And it's a law that's designed to protect federal judges. I'm not going to go through the criteria for that. But this is what some of the things that you can't, once they become a protected official, you cannot give out a home address, including primary residence, a home or personal telephone number, a personal email, a social security or driver's license, bank accounts, license plate, identification of children, full date of birth. Lots of things aren't in our tax system. And even though we would have the social security number, we're not getting that out. But what we do have in our tax system is the first one, a home address including primary or secondary residence. So I'll go back and we'll start with what we've done in our system. So when a person comes into, and I don't believe it would be your office, but courthouse, and I think they have to file in writing or something. The first thing would be to remove them from the web. So they don't even go to the web. There's no evidence of that parcel on the web because on the web are tax statements, and tax statements have addresses and they're just on there already. It's pretty hard for us to take it off the tax statement. So the best idea would be to just take them off of the web. The next thing you would do is you would go into, and this is where the web excluded parcel maintenance is. The next thing you would do is you would go into the taxpayer alternate owner maintenance. And we have a field there called a protected official, and you mark that. And that is basically what you have to do in our system. There's one or two other little smaller things, but we go out then and any parcel connected to this number, and that means a taxpayer, an alternate, or an owner number. Any of the three, we start removing information, and that would be in the owner file, it would be this address, but it isn't only that. On the property then, it's section township range, it's the whole description, it's a property address, all of that. The only thing by law you can give out is a name. You can keep a name, and that's it. And it isn't so much for your inner county workings. This has more to do with when Sue gets a call, or you get a correspondence from CoreLogic, I need your data, okay? So then Sue gets involved and we send your data out. This is going outside the county now. So we added a field in report generator called remove protected officials. And what that will do is when she generates that data to go outside of the county, there will be a name and a parcel, and that's it. Well, and of course, whatever, if they're looking for tax information, whatever that, but that's what that is for. So if you see it on report generator and you are just running your own in the county, you don't need to worry about that. This is really, but if you're generating something to send outside the county, I would suggest using it. Okay, and one more thing is, I don't know how many of you have this, but it used to be, yes.
Just had a question, like, something that we should be thinking about using for like safe at home for itself. Just fit and work in that scenario as well, keeping my mind on that as we're going through it.
Okay, so safe at home, they should already be removed from the web. That part should happen. Safe at home, it isn't actually their address or name, I believe.
Right.
So unless you actually know, oh, there's only one safe at home person in the county, and you have to have access to your county stuff too. I don't think so. I'll put it that way. We did think about that, but safe at home should definitely be removed from the web. I would definitely do that. Thoughts on that? If you think it over and you feel differently about it, I mean, we can certainly think about bringing them into this as well.
Somebody chatted.
It used to be that there was like public screens in the courthouse, and if you're still using that, and you do have these protected officials, we put a flag into the setup for the public screen to mark it that way. And so when you have like the name, address, description screen come up, that is all gone on the public screen. So if any of you have the public screen and you have a protected official, you just need to contact Sue at our office and she'll help you get that information removed.
Somebody chatted. Yeah, somebody's through the chat. Let's really click it.
Oh, it's a direct message.
With our GIS vendors, how does this end up looking? Yeah. So that is a piece I do believe we're still gonna have to work on. Because when we use our web files to send to GIS. And so when they're removed, yeah, it would look suspicious. So thank you. We are going to have to work on that piece. That's one piece that's left.
Yeah, you can just close out of it.
There we go.
Okay. Equalization notices. There was a request to add the wetland native prairie acres to the deeded acres on the notice. And equalization notices do not add any exempt acres to the deeded acres, at least they did not. So we decided to incorporate the two options in the equalization notice setup to do this. So if you say yes to printing wetland native exempt value, which not everyone does, but if you do say yes, and you say yes to printing deeded acres, so both of those would be a yes. Then we will add the native prairie wetland acres to the deeded acres. Any questions on that? All right. So we have a tax release that's semi ready to go, meaning most of the programming is done. We're going to be moving it over to support shortly, and they will test it and then it will come to you. And so today we're just going to go through a few items on that release and then a couple other items for discussion. Okay, so I think you've all heard of e-tax. As we're going through and testing our e-tax, whenever we use, and I'm just gonna pop down here. So whenever we have a screen in e-tax, and there's assessment codes involved, you will get there we go. There we go. So whenever there's assessment codes involved, you will get these choices. Of course, you'll get all our selector. And then we go to the groups. Ag, residential, and what it used to be was commercial, personal property, and then you're exempt, you're in lieu of, and you're exempt already. But as we were testing with the valuation listing, there appeared to be another breakdown, and that was the apartment breakdown. So we went back and forth and all around and to decide if we thought we needed to add. So currently, the apartment codes are kind of split between commercial and residential. I mean, that's how it would be what you have currently. But we decided to add the true apartment breakdown. Okay, so how this works is when we started e-tax, in system file maintenance, we created something called maintain assessment code groups. And you probably don't even know it's there. Whoops. But all it is you go down through your assessment codes and you assign ag, residential, apartments, commercial, etc. And the change that we made was to add the apartment, and we'll be sending that file out to you now, currently on the green screen. And I would appreciate if we don't change it now, but when we get to e-tax, you can control those groups. If we send this out and now you're on e-tax and you really disagree with this code being a commercial, let's say, you can change that. You can change that to a different category, but that will be countywide. So if you change that, and you as the assessors, I think, would have that right, but if you change that, that will then go in a different bucket when you run listings, but it isn't by user, it's countywide. Right now, like I said, we appreciate you leave it, because when we get to cross-checking e-tax green screen valuation listing with our e-tax valuation listing, we're going to be following this breakdown that we put in the groups. So ag is 101 through 120 plus 125. And res is 200 through 204, 207, 811, 151. I mean, et cetera, et cetera. This will be in the letter. The only difference is we left assessment code 390 in the other, and actually in the breakdown file, it is a commercial, and that's the only difference. Any questions on that? So, define deadline. So we hope that by the summer we can have the camel land help to you all who use that. And after that, it isn't that we're only working on camel land help. We are working on the assessor's piece as well. That's what we're working on, as well as the new report generator. So this is how we see it. First, we're hoping to provide a way to use our new report generator, which is a web-based product right off the green screen. Right, Mike? So you would get that first, and we'll be demoing that this afternoon, the new report generator. Second would be the camel land help, hopefully coming this summer. And like I said, we are working on the assessor's piece of it in tandem with the camel land help. And I wish I could tell you a date. I really don't have one, but I'm hopeful that by the end of the year, you'll see the assessor's piece of it. Anything else on that? I understand it's been a while. Okay, so this is a request that came actually through an e-tax meeting that we had with some users about our MP tax inquiry. And what came out of it was the fact that we have these totals down here. We have a home total and a grand total. And like, they're helpful, but maybe they could be a little more helpful. Like, maybe they could tell us about the tiered land, the how much land would qualify for the tiers. And Because this total included the 151. So that's not very helpful if you're trying to figure out, well, where was the split, and they had this much cross county, and the difference between that and what's in my county, and so, yeah, they should have all been at 1%, or they should have gotten this much 0.5 or whatever. The second situation is where we have the different choice groups. You have cross county, and then you have the different choice groups. And I know this doesn't, I mean, I understand that there can be like a lot of them. This is small. But so again, the ag homestead and the cross county, and then since you have the two choices groups, we allowed an F9, so you can go in and see what each choice group actually. What I'm wondering is, well, A, if you feel it would be helpful, and B, the wording, ag homestead. Is that really the description we want? Can we think of something better? Because we just put that on. It's ag land. It doesn't include the house and garage. It would include outbuildings, of course, because they qualify for 45. But we don't wanna, probably don't have room to say all that. Any ideas? You can think about it. And back to the first question, do you feel it will be helpful to you? And of course, this will be an e-tax as well, but we did add it to grade 3 first. Okay, this doesn't really affect you, but COJ interest rate changed to 10% at the beginning of the year. So for our counter posting, and this doesn't really affect you, but we have bank deposit listings, and someone had requested that the number of checks be on there too. So like when they have their big deposits around the 15th, they can have their amounts which they check, but also the number of checks they supposedly received. Okay. So on tax M11, number 8, parcel taxpayer inquiry. It didn't display the cross-county information for previous tax years. So this was our TNT information, payable year 2024. Nice cross-county parcel sits there. We have, it's all, then we do a previous year and all of a sudden we don't have our cross-county sitting there anymore, which was a programming issue. We have the information, it just wasn't bringing it in, right? So that will be corrected. Adding the routing number to the bank inquiry screen for ACH doesn't affect you. Here's the goodie. And this happens, like maybe once a cycle, TNTs and taxes. So most of the time, the county assessor, your office, is tasked with running a final assessor's abstract accumulation for your auditor then to do their rates. And we all intend to do that, but sometimes we're going down our list of things to do and we get interrupted. And once in a while, that doesn't get done. And so then the auditor is over there entering their rates. And somehow it comes to their attention that these tax capacity amounts don't look right. And this past TNT cycle, they had already sent out their cross-county school rates. Since they were the home district, they had sent them out. So what we've done now is every time you accumulate the assessor's abstract, we delete the file and we recreate it. We know what day that was done. So in our rate maintenance, we're going to add this little message. Total tax capacity for rates was last accumulated on this day. And I do believe if that person doing rates had seen a February of 2023 date there, that the whole thing would have been avoided. So that will be coming out in time for taxes this year. So they'll be watching you. Okay, and this is advanced pay. We're not going to go through that. That doesn't affect you at all. So several years ago, we added the referendum market value to the treasurer's file. Or so we thought. Anyway, Sue came with the data request shortly after I got back, probably about June or July. And I told her, yeah, there's a field inventory generator, yeah, there it is, pop it in, and you can just use it. Oh, well, there was no referendum market value there, so we actually weren't storing that. So we're going to fix that because I think it's valuable to see that on the treasurer's side. And they do ask for that information when they do data requests. So that won't mean much to you, but we're gonna get that fixed. And maybe in e-tax, we can even add it to the treasurer's screen. Because we have the referendum rate up there, and I mean, yeah, taxpayers might like to do their own calculation, you know? Okay, so TIF. So TIF goes along pretty well until there's a split. And who would volunteer here to tell us what you do when there's a split? Okay, well then I'll tell you what I think you do. You would have to, if there's a split, there's more than likely a split class. And in your evaluation maintenance, you'll just do that. You'll split the class, you'll split the land building, you'll do what's necessary. But over on the TIF side, it's still sitting with one record. Now, it's not that it matters so much that the assessment code changed, but that value is then calculated for TIF underneath that, the whole value underneath that class that was originally entered. So what's needed, and I think you as assessors would do this, would be to go into TIF maintenance, and you need to add a second record. You need to go back to your first record and redo those values, and then you need to add the second record. And lots of times, we don't even catch that until Prism catches it for us. And so this came from the auditors, but of course it goes back to here, the assessor's office. So one proposal is that we would put TIF at the top here, just a TIF, so you know it's a TIF parcel. And then we're even thinking of going the next step, and that would be when you add your second record to tell you, this would be a warning, to tell you that this is not in the TIF module yet and needs to be added. Okay, that's the first step. That's telling you, that's not doing it. That's, oh, you told me, yeah, I'll do that, and then I got busy and oh geez, I forgot all about it. So what the real proposal is is to stop tax capacity count until you do that. Feelings. Mhm.
I've actually split for tip and, done all of that. And the times that I forgot to create it on the tip side, it actually, when I calculated tax capacity, instead of coming out saying that there was no error, there's actually an error that does come from that report.
Yes, it'll tell you there.
Right, so that's what, when we taught it, and so then I like created it, made myself notes that don't get stupid, at least there's cash there.
And that's the same catch Ashley that's here.
Okay.
Telling isn't doing.
No, and I get that, I'm just saying, there is.
There is, yeah.
But having that on that screen to remind you when it's. Flip something that's an tip is a great idea.
So what we're thinking is to start there. Is that right? It's just that when you get to the prison level, it's a little more dire because your taxes are gone. It's like during TNT time, it's not such a big deal. But when you get to the tax time and you're gonna submit prison 3, it gets to be a big deal. And, these aren't, you're the assessors, but I've had some auditors that we've had to do some, what's the word? Fancy footwork. To get our prison to go. But we can start there. We'll have the auditors in here in a couple of weeks and we'll see what they say. But anyway, we will start with valuation maintenance and telling you that. Okay, so the last thing. So we had a call with the DOR. What did I say? Right after the first of the year. And what they wanted to talk about was changes to the PTR they want to make, not for this year, but for next year. And what they're really concerned about is mid-years. And they told us, make sure you clarify what mid-years means. And what it means, what they were talking about is that there's a sale mid-year, started on January 2nd as homestead. Then there was a sale mid-year and it's still homestead. But I don't think they're so concerned about like January, like July, August, September. It's when sales come in like right at the end of the year. And what happens then? Do we get all those social security numbers changed?
And even in December, you have them.
Well, they have the feeling, and okay, well, the first thing I want to tell you, because we really have the big head up this, is that we love CPT companies. Their data that they submit is always so clean and so good and all of this, right? Did they say that? And I'm like, wow. Okay, well, that's not us. We don't do the data, that's you. When I really thought this over, I don't really think it's the homesteads that get put in December by December 31st. What happens when there's a sale that comes through January 10th? And what I'm asking you is who gets the tax statement? Because I think the new people get the tax statement.
Yeah, yeah.
Whose social security number is on? And how are they gonna file for PTR?
They don't because they can't hold it. At that, so they can't.
Well, they probably did, but they,
People are not here for the homestead. Old socials are still at. If the new people apply. New social. Maybe like here.
well, are they in previous year, Chris?
We don't.
They're a new year. And this is what they're suggesting to us. Well, first of all, they think it's because, all those homesteads don't get processed by December 31st. That's what they think.
That's gonna get back.
Yeah. I don't agree with that. I think it's because of the sales between January, yes.
Could be because of the sales then, but I think there also might be an issue with not every county is doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we get a sale and it's in year and that new person applies for a homestead, we don't pull the old person's social security number out until the next year. Right. There's a lot of them that do it that way, so the old person's social security number is maintain that homestead or staying until the end of the year, and we put in their new social security number the next year.
Even though you qualify on a homestead till December 31st.
Then you would be using mid-year then, right? I mean, there's no mid-year, then they're probably like.
So only when I had a mid-year, it was a home, it was not homestead, it was and yeah, then I put a mid-year in, but it was year.
Okay, well, you can do it that way, but this is what they're suggesting to us. We go to the new year, social security number and pull in what's there.
So what they're saying is,
The person getting the tax statement is going to apply. They don't know that, right? Do they? They know their homestead. They know that they might qualify for PTR, or I did it at my old place, so now I got a new tax statement, so I guess I'll just use that. Do they know that? Mm-hmm. And we will this year. That's what they're proposing. And that's what they're saying to us. And so we're going, well, I mean. For us. It wouldn't be that hard. And this is what we do. It was homestead. So we know that. Because it's in the PTR file. So we would look if there's a social in the new year. And if there is, we take that. If there is not, for whatever reason, we go back to the previous year. I think that would give them what they want, without you changing your procedure. Thoughts on that? Because they would like some sort of a report back. And I think our report is counties do it different. And
I think that you are, is correct about how they play it, so that we can all do. Especially when you tax check, if you want to enter the new person social security number, the same neighbor property, then all of us can try to do that, if you want us to wait. We can do it that way, but we all need to know, so we can all be on the same page, and then there won't be the error.
I think there still would. Yes, because of the fact that you send the tax statement to the newest owner. they really understand. No, because they told me that was the problem, and I don't think that's the problem.
Learn what, how it works now.
And you know, I will say that they were very accommodating as far as, we wanna, not we, they wanna hear from you. They wanna hear from you. If you know, like your statement, send us a directive. They would take that advice. I don't know if they do it right away, but. Yes,
So if, say I went and I had my house home set last year,
mhm,
and I sold it January 10th this year, and I go file my taxes with my PTR this year, it's for my homestead last year. So if they take out my social security from my commercial this year and put the new owner on it, I'm not gonna get my PTR from last year that I should be receiving. Correct?
I get that.
No, I don't think that need to understand. Here, the new owner didn't know it.
So how are you gonna get a tax savings? Cause it's going to the new person, not to you. I mean, I guess you could go online on tax web and you. I don't know if taxpayer. Okay. Then we're back to, that isn't the reason, but they want us, but that's their proposal. Is to go ahead, but that's good to know, but they're blaming it on the fact that they aren't done in a timely manner as of December 31st. And that's back to a directive. Right? Yeah. Right.
In our case, our county, we do process that, whole sentence, and we're just covered if they come in January 10th, and then do one install every month, process that major. My only concern is if we're not to do that, we're gonna be holding on to 11 months of homestead, and we have our process, those just go through your time. That's my only question, is how the money to that, you could build out 11 months. No. We open, so. Like you. You always have 2 years. Pretty weird tax time like you do. Yeah. So say. Just and whatever. Get a homestead and it's our. You don't change. How processing from water heating, that involve your time? Yep. Yep, it's on in both years, because when you open that new year tax site, and you go changing. You can say yes, update, yep.
But you just updated the meter.
You say yes or update.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, then you have to be careful with that and make sure it's only updating right. But then you change something else and that.
Yeah, and that's another choice. Right, there's that too.
So you keep the.
Cause Kelly isn't doing right.
Well, I think so, my house is fully got it, and they're not moving in. I. Somebody buys a house January 3rd. March 10th, whatever. They. Homestead, I did here, it was not homestead. And they apply for PTR.
Well, we talked about that, and they're not concerned about that, they feel they can catch that, now, I don't know what's why they think that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Like it wasn't homestead, it was homestead, they did for tax.
And
That's
homestead,
And so. And they apply for PTR. Oh, that's right.
they feel they can catch that way, but it's the homestead change where it stays. Right, I don't know if we really, I think we do what the outside said, that everybody kind of does it differently, but I think we'll start with, a good first step from the DOR would be true direction on how to do that. Is that where we landed or what? Okay, moving on. So I'm finished. Hold on, yeah, going to talk about the whole idea here is we're getting ready for equalization notices, right? And we're gonna start with Gamma Land Health. All right. Yes, sir.
Alright, we had a few questions on transferring the tax billing. So the option in Kama, it'd be option 18. And in Land Calc, it's option 20, which is a miscellaneous menu, and then option 4. So the question, how do we prove before transferring the tax? And I put in there mini abstract comparison and transfer file listing. Anybody else use any other ways they can share with the group?
That's a lot of data. How do you slug through all that?
If you're wondering how we go to refer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we go parcel by parcel, like we page through it and make sure that we got everything that's set up correctly. And audit before we go.
Yeah. What else?
Anything that we could do that would be helpful. You can think on that.
Yeah. Well, the next slide, right? This is just the mini abstract comparison. As the CAMA 2024, the fall, the increase, decrease, the spring, and then also the increase, decrease. So we run ahead to see it. Okay.
These are the options for the new people that have never transferred, you gotta go in order 1 to 4. First, you create the transfer, then you create the transfer file, then you transfer file edit listing, and then you, transfer file to tax billing. This right here is the transfer file edit listing. People have never run it. Gives you the difference between, this one right here is the land calc and the tax before you actually transfer. Any questions? Good. Good. One more. Yep. Answers many times.
Like if I see that, and I will that 110%.
Your notes really add up. Just saying.
Could we at least combine 1 and 2?
Well, we could think about combining 1 and 2. I don't know, that would have to be a group thought here. So tell me again, Chris. You would just have one option that's taken all the way to 10.
I get to this point, I'm going to. Edit and be.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And that looks good, I'm not gonna read, I'm not gonna go 1, 2, 3, check back. Here. Maybe I'm lazy, maybe I'm not, yeah, I'm in. Let's go ahead. If that all that is, okay. Let's check. Whatever. I'm assuming that's just my priority.
Do you ever use this like during the year? To check? Okay. Okay, so what if we did this? What if we combine 1 and 2? And in 1 and 2, you can just take the option to do them all. But we're gonna leave 3 and 4 in there. But you can get all the way through on each one. And that way you all that really don't want to do it that way, or maybe you all do. What are the thoughts here?
I haven't heard that.
Okay. So what Chris is saying is when we get here, we make you create this setup file. And why we do that is if there's new classes or categories that we don't know what to assign them to over in tax. That's why we have to do one. But like, once you do that once, I mean, it's done for the year, really. So then we go and create the transfer file, which is taking those categories and getting it all into the buckets that are gonna go to tax. And then the edit listing is, I'm sure you all know what that is. That's just a parcel by parcel listing that tells you what's all there and what the tax value is and what your new town value is that's going across and that type of thing. And then we move to tax. And what Chris is suggesting is when I do one, I'm ready to go. I want to go all the way to tax because if I then go back and look at my edit listing and, oh, this is right and that isn't right, well, then I'm gonna go fix it and I'm just gonna go retransfer anyway. I don't stop at 3 before I do 4. And if I do stop, I might forget to do 4. Do you transfer by township? The whole thing, okay. I'm suggesting we go with the middle approach and combine 1 and 2. Because I can surely see that where you would do your classes and just want to hit a button and yeah, create the whole thing. But then we give you a way in 1 that you can actually spit out 3 and go all the way to tax. But I think we should leave 3 and 4. That's my feeling. For others. I don't want to do that. Or do you all do it that way?
We have to fix whatever is in the bucket already, just the one.
Yes,
So if you just wanted to together, you still fix.
yes. But in 1, we provide a way that you can just do the whole shebang.
You still have to fix.
Yes. Or do you want to keep 3 and 4? We should be looking at the chat because nothing, okay. Because this really is, I don't know, radical. Sure.
Right? But I'm looking like a duplicate home system. There's not one spot around, you can decide that, I'm gonna not do this. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So, when you do a duplicate homesteads, that sequence. Should it be more than one option, say, I wanna do it, yes, please confirm, yes, boom, I don't have to read 6 pages. There's no option for me to do it at the end, right?
Right.
So we as end users need to know the next. Or should CPT just say, all right, if you're gonna do this, we can start now, is that okay? Yep.
Okay, well, that, I guess how we saw it is that you stop and look at your edit listing. And you're saying, we're already by that.
Already.
You have lots of edit lists actually already that. By the time you get here, you're ready, or at least we. I mean, by the time I've already run edit lists, I've already done territory. I've handed out to everybody's territory saying, this is not coming up right, what, you know. So by the time I get here, I'm transferring into tax making. I'm not stopping and looking at that number 3 edit list. Because we've edited already multiple times, right?
Is that useful at all?
Yes.
But maybe,
It's not right.
I stop at 3, and I look at the edit listing, and I fix it, and then I start over and go. That's not a big deal, it's $3.
It's not a big deal, I was using that as a big thing, some of the others that we do. In multiple steps, but it's, I think it's what you're saying. And now we're going to option 2, we want to do option 15. It's a check to me. It's really not.
so are we changing that?
I don't know.
okay, but doing 1, 2, and 3 all an option, but still leaving 4 as your transfer separate, because that's. You know, maybe you don't wanna do it, or you need to hit the button, well, now I can't. You know, I don't know, that just.
Yeah, that can happen too. I mean, that can happen too to go all day, because you're probably going to 3 after you get to this.
Right. I would say 2, 3, you're not gonna edit and do 4.
Comparable, yeah. Okay, we can do that.
We could get a Zoom chat with the.
Oh, okay, why change it when it works for you as it is?
See it like.
Yeah.
Well. Change is good. And, we're not gonna do the radical change, so, sorry, Greg. Don't need to call you a radical. But, yeah, I can really see that 1 and 2 and the listing spits out, will hopefully catch it with job control, so it doesn't like print thousands of pages, but other than that, and then 2 will be transfer, tax. Does this include the land count too? Or is that different?
I think you could do that, Dick, too.
Wait, work to do.
Any questions on this screen right here? The moving the tax bill? Alright, so next, we got a quintel program. You take your tablet out in the field and you have your field sheet sketch, a camera and then a comic. And this is for you to write notes, have it in the field instead of just doing a paper. We got probably 8 counties that got this right now. So if anybody's interested, that's available out there. Any questions on the quintel program?
Oh, great.
That's also free.
Then run independently, or do you need to have service?
No service needed.
So do you download all your files before you go out?
Yep, before you go out there, yeah.
Does it include land count now?
Not quintil.
So can I make changes while I'm out there and it automatically updates when I get back to the office? I have.
That'll be the next screen, yeah, that's Cam Mobile. The Cam Mobile is everything in the green screen, out in the field, you have to upload it before you go out and then you come back and download it in.
Basically, the quintile is one way, download only, Cam Mobile will go both ways.
You don't need service for that either, do you?
No,
Why would you want the quintile then? If it doesn't go both ways? Just because you like doing all the work?
they started with quintile before the Cam Mobile, it was.
Okay.
Instead of
I was
piece of
just curious.
paper, that was the next best thing.
Does Campbell Mobile have the land calc in it?
Not yet. No, that's,
Yeah. You'll repeat it.
oh, they have, is there a lane calc in Cam Mobile? Not right now. There also isn't commercial yet either,
Well, that should be able to be put in.
but that can be put in there, I believe Preston can get that in there for you. But not lane calc yet, so.
Because then you still need your field sheets, so if you're doing, you still need to know.
Yep, the field sheets are, yep,
Those things.
field sheet sketch, comments, Cam, that's all in there too.
What she's saying without the land calc.
All of
With the
it.
land calc.
Yeah.
You're still doubling up and.
Mhm.
Question about the town for the. They're holding us that. Is there a different program for a full time?
Yeah,
That's not in town.
It is
Or
not.
that is.
no,
Where is that?
the quintile. This is a separate program is what it is. Pressing on it.
Yeah.
Pressing on it, so you can. It's a separate like Windows Store app, so you can download your quintile data and then take it out to the field with and look at all that stuff out internet. So if you have like a Windows tablet, like a Surface or even a laptop, you can just bring it to the field, look at all that information, look at the field sheet, make little comments on it, draw on it, and Edge or whatever PDF editor that you use, take some pictures, which might be a little hard with the laptop, but with the Surface, they usually have a camera on the back, so you can just do that and we'll automatically upload the photos to the right spot, so you don't have to manually edit those or go through the camera photo management or anything.
Is this, like, if you don't have camera mobile does that?
Yeah.
Use camera mobile.
Camera Mobile is a lot beefier. Camera Mobile will actually upload your parcels to Camera and all the data and stuff. This will just basically make a copy on the server, and then you have to manually go and do things besides the camera.
Basically a digital image of your field card.
Yeah,
It's basically what it is, allows you to write, take notes, do whatever. We used it for a while. The problem that we found with it was if you want to download quite a bit of properties that have a lot of sketches, photos, they're really bog itself down when you try to pull one up. It takes a lot of time to pull up. You're standing up in front of somebody else, they go to their door and help you, it's like, hey, yeah, waiting for this to pull up. But it works good as a digital image if you don't have the ability to be able to use like a camera mobile or something else like that where you know, any connectivity in some areas, so. That's basically all it is, just an image of your field sheet rather than carrying around a stack of paper, you have your tablet or whatever you have.
Does it have the ability to store your parcels via best driving route for efficiency? I'm just saying, I'm not driving the same road twice.
Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, you don't hit that? Okay.
yeah. Any other questions on either one? All right. Really? Go. Yep,
When I was out at that league, I did an ad record,
yeah.
and when I uploaded it, it didn't add a record, it put it in at the next house.
Yes, you're adding a house record. A second house, because in Canada, to actually have a second true record, there have to be one in. But you have to add a record in value maintenance first.
So should we rename that instead of add record? Because when I got back in and I uploaded, I was looking for a second record.
Yeah, I can change it to add house.
That house. Yeah, we can do that.
Can we change it to second house or add second house or something like that, so we can.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be easy. Any other questions? Word.
That's mine, you got that one. That's it down there. There we go.
I'm gonna be talking about the year-end sequence that was actually sent out this summer, and then I sent it again yesterday in case you didn't get it or you hadn't yet. So some of you, assuming most of you have probably already done this. The sequence allows the user to create and maintain data for the next assessment and the next payable year. This needs to be done before you can do the gamma and land code files that. Most of this, is done in the data process screen, not in necessarily in your assessor. The first thing you'll want to do is rebuild your index files. This is done nightly for most of you, but maybe you want to do it again just to make sure that everything's done before you go and you do the process. Then you're gonna want to back up your tax files. This is also done nightly, but we recommend that you would do this before you start, so you can, if you make a mistake or do something, it's easier for us to go back to that backup that you did instead of the nightly file. And make sure that you change your assessment year. Don't change the payable year, or you might have issues with your auditor. And nobody likes that. Your new year file is going to create, obviously, your new files, and it's going to create the new index files. It's going to create the previous year assessment files, and then your new payable year files. It's also going to delete your taxpayers. It's going to delete those deleted parcels or records that you maybe deleted in the previous year, so it's not going to carry those over into the new year.
Oh, she's gonna click on.
Oh, I'll have to click on it again.
And then the next step is creating your new year value reset. This is gonna change those mid-year homesteads to homestead, full homesteads. It's gonna remove your limited flags of X and M. And then it's gonna zero out that new construction, so it'll be do anymore in your system. The plat file is updated, and then this is also when your tax capacity values are calculated. And then this is the safe time to transfer your camera and land count files over. This is probably when you've been doing all your proofing and whatnot. And then the last is to, once you put it over into the tax billing system, you're gonna wanna list your parcel valuations and do your comparisons if you haven't done so already, which sounds like most of you have already done that. All right. Questions, comments?
All right, I'll be talking about valuation notices. And as Monty said earlier, those forms are, ready to be shipped and, envelopes should be arriving soon. And, valuation notices will, we'll be sending out the sequence for that. When you think, right, for that, and if you guys have questions, of course, we are here to answer, okay? And I'm gonna apologize in advance, my speech is a little bit bad, because I have braces on, and I switched braces last night, so. Now I know what my kids went through, you know, every time they got tightened, it's, yeah, so I apologize. All right, so I'm gonna talk about valuation notices. And, of course, everything that we talked about has to be done before this can get started. The assessor's year-end sequence, was provided to us earlier, and, that has to be completed. The 2024 assessment value file must exist prior to printing your equalization notices. Sorry. And of course, you want to verify that your 2024 CAM and land health values have been transferred to tax billing, which most of them, I'm assuming they should have been done by now. And reminder, always do a mass calculation on the CAM and land health site before transferring to tax. It's very important. The steps needed to complete CAM and land health value transfer process are contained within the sequence in that assessor's year-end sequence. And make sure you are updating and improving your CAMA and land health values as applicable to your county before transferring. Okay, and the next step that we would do is verify that your 2024 values have been updated, entered, and approved. You know, of course, run your valuation listings, do your increase, decrease to market values, print your assessment summaries, etc. And if you guys are doing an increase, decrease to market values, make sure you do a current backup, as Julie mentioned, prior to running the option. And then always calculate your tax capacity values, of course, in real estate and mobile home. And run your system edits. It's very important to run those edit listings. That is going to bring up discrepancies or changes that need to be made. The system edit 1 is looking at parcels. System edit 2 is looking at your MP groups. When running the system edit 1, you may choose to ignore certain warning messages. You can also change your building and land value greater than field to be larger or smaller than the default setting. And also you can change your current market greater than or less than last year amount from the default value of 15%. So the beginning of the equalization notices, of course, you're going to update your notice information, like meaning changes, dates, times, etc. And this is where you're going to enter your date, time information, your location, all of that good stuff. Go back into valuation notices. And once you have printed, or once you have updated your notices, then you can go ahead and print your notice information. For that step, you'll go back and you will zero out the assessed or the state assessed values. And these values are the building and the machine values will be zeroed out for the assessment codes, the following assessment codes right here. That'll automatically be done. Make sure you hit F5 to process that, otherwise they don't get zeroed out. Once that is done, then you'll go ahead and print the notices. And you can print however you would like. There's multiple ways to print these by parcels, township by parcel, also by county, parcel by zip, et cetera, et cetera. In our sequence, it kind of details out what each of those options mean. Feel free to do it however your county does that. Option number 4, create outsource file. There is the question, like Glenn mentioned earlier about printing wetland and native prairie exempt value codes. This is in this spot here. Okay, sorry about that. That was in the print notices area. In the outsource file, you have the option of printing by selected parcels as well. It looks like the print notices. Go ahead and do that. Then option number 5, create inquiry file. This option will create the valuation notice inquiry file, which you can access through the inquiry program through valuation maintenance by typing EQ NOT in the quick access field. Also, this option allows you to print a random valuation notice on the command line by typing L note. If you guys have forgotten about those little quick handy tips. This has to be done, otherwise L note and EQ note will not work. And I'm not gonna take you up to actually printing the L notes because since they're not uploaded on our system yet, because the new forms are ready. I'm not gonna show you what the new one will look like, but it's obvious will be 24, 25. And the L note feature is quite handy. If you want to, prove any random ones, etc. It's just nice. It pops up as you as PDF. It's real nice to have those options at your fingertips. And we've already talked about the excluded assessment codes. They don't have values until May. And that's about all I have on valuation notices. And like we said, we'll be setting all the sequence in a couple weeks. And call us with questions or concerns if you need help. A couple of you had said that you haven't been doing them before. This is your first time, so please let us know. We can do a Zoom meeting if you'd like to, go through it personally. We'd be more than happy to do that. Okay. Thanks.
It's actually lunchtime. I'll come up here after lunch and go through mini abstract, present some of the things that you do to like proof the valuation notices for those of you who haven't done that. Run through that quickly, but we get fun Susie time right now. We have some freebies that we're handing out. So Julie's grabbing your sign-ins and I have a random number generator on my phone. Julie, how many people? 41, so, oops, not 42. 1 through 41. We have bento boxes. We'll get rid of these little bento boxes first. So our first number, 1 through 41, is 8. Who's number 8? Boyd Michelson. Bento box. Okay, our next number is 21. Bonnie. And we've got 2 more goodies to hand out. We have some fun CPT blankets. So our next number is 39.
Vicky Man.
Vicky. And last but not least, 13.
Kim Bradlaugh.
Kim. Awesome. All right. Does somebody have instructions for food or just, is it all set up back there? Good to go back there and then we'll eat on those tables and come back here after lunch. Do we have a timer? We'll just call people back. 12:30-ish, 12:30-ish. We'll call you back.
Yeah, good.
Mike is muted on this, right?
I'm gonna try to get you out of here like 2, bring it back.
How late are we gonna go?
1:32.
I won't say anything.
That ain't bad.
Assuming.
If you're bored, then you just leave early, I guess.
Great.
All right, so we're coming back after lunch this afternoon. I'm gonna run through the mini abstract of Prism. And then we're gonna get our developers up here to talk about some upcoming fun items. For those of you who, like me, have not been through this before, I will have some screenshots and things up here. These will be sent out, so don't feel like you need to write everything down. It'll be coming out to you, but if you have any questions or comments, feel free to holler out. So the first thing we're gonna do is prep our system, which is kind of what Jeff and Julie talked about this morning. We wanna make sure we're ready to run that spring mini abstract and test our information against it. So after you've done your land calc and tax data updating, work through your tax capacity values, look at those system edits, I will walk you through the lists on the right and how we can compare some of those numbers to our mini abstract to make sure everything looks the way we want it to. So once you've done all the updating, then we're gonna go accumulate the mini. If you look at the bottom left, this is our taxon 12. Option 6 is accumulate your spring fall mini abstract. When you choose this, the screen on the right will show up and it's gonna ask you to map your land calc classes and tell us where you want them sent in your Prism file. If you put your cursor on any of those areas, any of the 40s or the 105s, and press an F2, like a lot of other places, it'll give you a prompt of what the options are. And you just want to make sure those things are mapped over. All the ones you need to are mapped over. If they're not, you will get notice later saying, we don't have a section for this, and you need to go back and do that. When you do this, accumulate, it will generate 3 listings. And we'll look at those real quickly here for you. The first one shows you parcels. You can see on this parcel, it has a tax value, but it doesn't have a land count value. So it's telling you to go look at that. These are the kinds of things you'll see. The second list shows townships. Again, this is the township that that parcel was in, and there's a $49,000 difference. We probably know where that's coming from. The third listing is kind of the most interesting usually. It gives you lots of other messages. For folks who haven't done this before, I'm going to run through what those messages are. You should have gotten a document yesterday, and those messages are listed in that document, these ones. They will also be listed in the sequence when it comes out. So the top one, land calc not found, tax values used, that means that there were values put into land calc, and so our system is guessing where you want those values to go. If you don't want our system to guess, you'll want to go put those values into land calc and tell it where to go. The second one is tied to it, tax record item number 73. Number 73 is other productive land. It's kind of miscellaneous. So that one is telling you there's so much value in here. We don't know. We've already put it the places we can think of, and we're dumping the rest of it into number 73. If you don't want us to do that, please go tell us what to do with it. The third one, land calc record, no state class. In land calc, there's an opportunity to put a state class in there. They're saying we can see a record exists, but you need to put a state class with it. We don't know what class it is. The fourth one, land calc record and state class, but no abstract number. Abstract number are those numbers that we put in on the right there. That's what the system is calling abstract numbers. So they're saying, yeah, thank you. They're saying we don't see that for this. It has a land calc record, it has a state class, but no abstract number. We don't know where to put it still in PRISM. So go check your abstract numbers. The next one, land calc and tax site values are not the same. Hopefully that showed up in one of the earlier messages, but that there's a note here that says that's actually going to cause you problems more in PRISM submission 2 than submission 1. The next one, land calc record, but no value. There is land calc, but we don't have a value. This only causes a problem if you do have a tax value and you don't have a land calc value. That'll cause problems. The last two are really more just a heads up for you. The first one says you have an additional HGA. That will trigger when you have a house and garage that's not a choice code 0. Our system is not counting how many HGAs you have. It's just looking for you have a house and garage that's not a choice code 0. We think you have multiple. You just want to make sure that's true. It's just giving you a heads up. And then the last one, fractional HGA, is saying part of this is being sent to homestead, part is being sent to non-homestead because it's fractional in our system. Is that what you want us to do? So it's a quick overview of those. Anyone have questions or comments? So we use our mini abstracts. Mini abstracts, for those of you who are newish like me, what I learned is they're from pre-PRISM days. We used to send mini abstracts to the state. Now we send PRISM to the state, but we still use mini abstracts to prep. So the next thing you'll do is list it, text them 12. Option 16 is you're going to list your spring or fall to proof. On the top right, I'm choosing option 1. That's what we recommend running to proof. I'm going to show you what it looks like when I run it. Option 1 is a good proof. You can run options 2, 7, and 9. Those are going to look slightly different than my option 1. Preston's going to be my helpful companion here. But I'm not going to run through them today. You can see at the bottom, option 12 is to actually create your PRISM file. You can do all of this stuff that we're talking about really anytime when you're ready to. The one thing you don't want to do is create your PRISM file and try to talk to the state about it before we send out that sequence. Once we send out the sequence, we're telling you our system is ready, the state system is ready. You can do that. When we send out the mini abstract file, that allows you to do all the proofing. But if you go ahead and run that PRISM, that's where you'll probably just have to redo it because things aren't ready until we send out that sequence. So if you choose option 1 on the top right, you get the menu on the top left, and you can run any of those that you want. You can see we still have a state copy in there on the bottom right. That's kind of the data that we used to send to the state. The one that I ran that you'll be seeing here is these options. I ran it by township. And I'm going to show you the PDF. And I'm going to show you only one selected district. For those of you who are not familiar with our PDF options, if you pick no, it's not going to generate a PDF. If you pick yes, it's going to generate a PDF to your root drive, which for most people is their tax bill folder, correct? Yeah. Or a J drive, that's where it's going to generate, wherever it generates your documents. Yeah, in general. If you do a P, it will pop up on your screen and allow you to decide where to generate it. So I would recommend running a PDF. Those are your options. This is what the one that I generated is going to look like. Those boxes that we have, those are the areas that we would recommend proofing. And I am going to run through it with those lists on the left. Thank you. So the first way to prove, if you go into tax M 11 and you run option 11 parcel valuations, you can see in the parentheses, I ran this by township totals only. So if you're looking for one, you can run it however you want, but if you're looking for one that looks like what I have there, you would want to run it by township totals only. And then wrote it down, what is it? Those blue boxes, those should be the same. There's the next one we have is gonna show that too. It's your taxable market value, your totals for that township or your county or whatever, those should be the same. So that's something you can check to prove we're just proofing the totals. You can see that in the parcel valuations and in the assessment summary. So you can see that's how I listed my assessment summary. Also in the assessment summary, if you look in the market value column and you go down to the mini abstract line, that should match the market values up top. And again, we'll send these out. And then the third one is if you have plat exclusions, which are over there on the right, you can list those plat exclusions, look at what township, and check the totals. Another thing you can check is if you look at that green circle, you can make sure that the assessment codes are going where you want them to, below that purple box. Right now, you can see mine are all the same assessment summary or assessment code, so they're all going to the same. So that's the mini abstract, what we recommend you run and check. Any questions or comments on that or something additions you want to throw in? Pretty straightforward. The last one I want to run through is prism edits. You can see I'm in tax M12 on the bottom there. Prism edits are option number 10. There are 6 of them. Again, you can do this as much as you want. The first edit is between tax and land calc. So you can kind of see maybe what's going on with that parcel that I have in red, where there's 40 acres in land calc and there's 40 acres in tax. They're not split out correctly. It's saying, is that really what you want to do, or do you want to change one of those, look into it? Similarly, Prism Edit 2 is actually going to run a transfer. So if you pick option 2 over on the right there, it's going to have you tell it what land calc codes to send to land, building, tillable. Before you run any transfers, we recommend backing up your system, which Julie talked about earlier, maybe. Backing up your system is in that tax M02, you pick option 11 and run a backup before you run a transfer. But otherwise, once you do that, land edit 2 is going to run a screen similar to the bottom. You can see the land is different than the tax. Again, they're just asking you to look into it. Some of these you may not resolve, but it's giving you a heads up that this is an atypical situation. Option 3, they look at the state assessment codes, the state codes and the assessment codes. So there's an assessment column and a land calc column and a state class column. And the system is telling you something between those 3 is odd. Make sure this is what you actually want. You didn't just fat finger something. Again, you maybe won't get rid of all of them, but you want to understand all of them and make sure they're what you want. Option 4 is this is an ag class and you have no deeded or tillable acres. Are you sure you want it to be ag if there's no acres? And then 5 and 6 are value edits where they're saying you have value on one side and you don't have value on the other side. Are you sure that's what you want? So that's about it for that sequence, is getting ready to send things to Prism, making sure everything looks the way you want it to look. Any questions or comments? That's it for me.
Okay, so this afternoon, we're going to show you a little demo of our new report generator. And Ethan, one of the developers, and he has worked on a report generator and Camel and Keller. And Tricia here is our project manager for the whole e-tax report generator, Camel, all of it. So we CPT added a project manager for our e-tax a while back, and it's really been so beneficial for us to keep us in mind, keep us on task, everything like that. So we're really kind of excited about report generator, and the reason is because our green screen is so hard to use. I mean, it's like really hard. And then if you get into the custom reports, it's really, really hard to use. And so we just think that we've just made major improvements here, and we'll go through it, and I guess you'll decide. And the second part is what I alluded to this morning, that we're going to try, and no, we are going to make it so you can use it like before the whole e-tax, e-camera rolls around. So you can use it like as soon as we can get it ready to go and get it out there. And the last thing is we're going to be converting your reports. So if you have some that you tackled our green screen report generator and you like them and they actually do work for you, they'll be here so that you can continue to run those. Okay, so when you go into report generator, what we created as kind of a holdover from the green screen is the categories. And what the categories are is the different things we had on our different menus. Like on the assessor's menu, you have the assessor's report generator, we have the sales ratio report generator, you have our CAMA report generator, and then there's ditches, and there's the auditors, and there's the auditors delinquent. I don't know, there must have been about 8, 9, whatever. But those are the categories. When you first go in, you will see only your own reports. And there's a tab at the bottom or that you can view all reports. When you get into someone else's report, you can copy it. You can actually run it, but you can't like save changes to it. If you want to start saving it and making real changes, you have to copy it as your own. The X over at the side, you see that appeared and disappeared. It's only there if it's your report, because you can only delete your report. Since you can't do it, even save someone else's, you certainly can't delete someone else's. Okay, and I just want, so the other options are the PDF and the Excel. And what is that? Oh, copy right there. Now, the tabs at the top or the headings of the columns can all be sorted and filtered. So like you saw, Ethan was going through and doing different categories, or you can filter a user if you know you're looking for somebody's report, or just anything like that. A good one would probably be either our created or last run date. So when you're thinking of maybe cleaning stuff up, you can just sort by that, and well, this wasn't run since 1993. I don't know. Think we need it? Okay. Stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we'll go into a standard report first, because if you know anything about a report generator, there's standard, which is like lines of data. And then the custom, which is like letters, labels, etc. Okay, so this is always, even for myself, the hardest part, which is finding and choosing my fields. It takes a while, and I even know what I'm looking for most of the time. So this is how we've tried to make it easier. First of all, those columns that you can filter on, if you actually know I'm looking for values, you can put we can get down to the value fields. So then we can choose some of those. The other thing we've added is if you hover over a field, even though it says house and garage, we try and give you like an explanation. So every one of those fields you can hover over and you can see what we feel would be helpful for you to know that they are when you're choosing. So those are a couple of items that we've added to this screen to help you find those fields. And of course, as always, we're willing to help as well. Okay, so then we get to, this is called the print tab. Is print? Yes, print tab. Okay, this is how you're going to print your fields on your standard report. So just because I chose a field doesn't mean I'm going to print it. So the first column on the left there is that I'm actually going to print it, because some fields you may choose just for ranges and selection purposes. You may not actually want to include it on your report or anything like that. Okay, the second is the width. So really where that comes in, because when you go to PDFs and you get too many characters, it's going to wrap. And that might get a little annoying, and it adds a lot of paper, and well, you might not print it, but it's just like, here's my line, and then I have to go way down here on the second page and see the rest of it and all that. So with these width fields, you can like pull them in, like on that name, yeah, 15 characters, that's enough. So that can pull you in so you can possibly get it on one line. Another thing on the green screen is, oh man, I've got 15 fields and I decided that I want 14 to go to 3. Oh, well, guess what? I got to renumber all of those fields. Here, I just take this and I just pop it up there. Done. It's coming out where I would like it to. Okay, we'll go to the next tab, which is the sorting. So this is where we had a range and selects part of it and our sorts. This will still be the sorting because we can sort by ascending and descending. And on our old system, you also had to number the sorts. This will work exactly the same way as the fields. Printing is your first sort, you move to the top and on down. Section break. So on the green screen, you would have a parcel section break. Even though you didn't ask for it, it would always break by parcel. Yeah. Here you can do other section breaks that you would like. And what it means is I want a total after that one. And then we have the page breaks. Okay. Moving on. And just because we're going to next, if you have a report already there, you can go to the top tabs and you can just go back and forth however you like. Okay, so after the sorting, we have the filters. So we have lots of options here. On the green screen, you had either selections or ranges. That was it. Here, you can have equals, not equal to, less than, which was a big one. That would have been nice on the green screen. Less than or equal, greater than equal, like, and range. So over to the right, you have a prompt. When you don't check that, and you would have a range or an equals, and you just want one condition, you can enter it here. If you know that, oh, I'm going to be picking 3 parcel ranges or whatever, then you would go with the prompt, because then at the end here, you'll see you get your selections up to 20. And if you decide any of these that delete, it doesn't like delete the field from your report, but it would delete this filter. Okay, so summary. So here we have a total, a count, a min, max, and an average. You can do all that in here. What we had on the green screen is count by parcel, even though you didn't choose it, and then we had the totals that you could choose. Okay, and finally we have the output. Okay, so we did have summary only on the green screen. Page orientation, you can do portrait or landscape. We have 3 paper sizes. You can run on letter, legal, or 11 by 17. And you always have the option to do PDF or Excel. And what happens with this output is, it's just like the green screen. It's all put in your downloads folder. If you have something you want to save, it's up to you to move it somewhere else to save it. And it would be suggested when you do go to e-tax that you clean out your download folder maybe once a week, because anything you generate here is going to end up there. And here's the remove protected official that I talked about this morning, which will remove that information from your report. Stagger total lines, yes or no. So when you're totaling a lot of things, on the green screen, we automatically staggered. And because this report generator isn't just ours, tax, CAMA, it also belongs to Costrate and HR. They felt they were using a lot of paper, and you might too if you only have 2 totals and it starts staggering every break you have. You're eating up 2 lines when you could have just used 1. And so we're giving you the option to say yes or no to that. And here's if you want to print the options page. Yes or no, and the subheading, that's like the green screen, it just goes on the top of your report, so you can make note to yourself what it is. And the new feature is something called, excuse me, notes. So these are your notes, this is your report, your notes. You can write you know, a short novel here. No, not quite, but you can write anything you want about this report and save it. You can print it on the report on the options page, or you don't have to do that. But if you're trying to remember, because even though we allow, like, on the green screen, it was like 6 letters and then a little description. Well, like that one from 1991, well, what is it? Well, you can write in here what it is. And I'm being kind of a smart aleck because I don't think from 1991, if you haven't run it since, then you care, but you can make note in here. So something that you run once a year, which is hard to remember from year to year exactly what it is, you can make note in here. And the other thing you can do, okay, see that note? So we're gonna save the report, and we're gonna hop back here. And there's the note and some information about your report. So if you want to remember what this report was for, you can write it in the note and you can just hover over that name and you can see that. Okay, did we get all put on? Okay, well, we'll just finish up over with margins and font size. So again, one of the ways that you can decrease the size of your line items is by like not printing the whole name, by chopping some columns off, and you can also decrease your font size if you're getting too much information, or increase it, whichever way you want to go. And the margins are pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so let's just, and like I mentioned, once you hit that save, then you get your filters and get to choose what you want your parcel ranges or whatever. This happens to be parcel ranges to be. So we bring it up, and this is, like I said, in your downloads.
I think Gwen, that's what she said, but how many people have that on the drive or the map drive disappears and all of a sudden you can't get any reports? I'm sure everybody, I know I have, but one thing nice about this download is the map drive. This goes directly to your computer and puts you in control, so you don't need the map drive to do anything. And now you can take that report and put it, you know, print it, move it to your local file server, wherever you want.
Okay, we'll go back and we'll take a look at a customer report.
Press the button. I think we just place or something.
Okay, so on a custom report, the same drill as far as choosing fields. We went through that, we won't go through that again. We're gonna show you a letter that was there. This was converted. So you see, it looks pretty good. What we've added is when you're typing, you know, that silly step sign you had to find and use and all that jazz. Well, you can just start typing. And then you can pick your field. Going back to your list, pick it, there it is. And you keep on moving. We have same repeating fields. If you remember what they are, like if you're listing out a ditch, and you have your 40-acre tracts, you might have several records. So it will just repeat those records for you for that parcel. And all that functionality has stayed. But this just allows you to use it, it's probably not the level of Word, but probably WordPad. So you can actually get a decent looking letter out of this. And over on the right, there's just, to increase, decrease the size here. This is the font size. So you can actually increase and decrease your font size. Oh, page orientation, okay. Size. And your margin showing you what they are. And a really nice feature is undo. Or redo. I don't want to remove. Sure. Okay, our letter, which looks slightly.
Yeah, the paper size is a little big for it.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So. Another thing you can do is you can, like, if you have a standard report that has all your line items on it, and it's pretty close to the fields you'll be choosing for a custom letter, you could copy that standard report and you can go in here and you can change it to a custom report. So your fields would be chosen and you can just start typing. Any questions? Anyone? Anything else?
You got it on.
Yes. The report generator for and reports are one of the things that we're trying to do in the report generator is we're trying to figure out, okay, we're going to choose this name. What screen does it come on? And is that really the name that we want to choose, the field we want to choose? Is that an option on here? Outright. So this report coming from Emma, this is the screen from Emma that this. So this is coming from the QTA, and this is coming from post the auditor.
That's a great suggestion. I don't know what those fields say as far as the description that we put in there, but we can look at that. That's a great suggestion to phrase it that way. Yeah. Good. Anything else? Okay, then we're gonna hop into eCamera. So one of the things that happened when Tricia came on board is, we were writing programs, but I shouldn't say I don't think, we weren't. testing them to the degree they needed to be tested to, have you all work on them. And if you've ever seen me up here before talking about e-tax, you know, my famous statement that, well, we're keeping the database the same, so if the worst happens, you can hop back on the green screen and do your work. Well, the way we were going, the worst was gonna happen. Because we were not testing our programs fully enough for them to be workable for you. So that's what we've been really concentrating on, is going back through our programs, making sure they're tested. And then we will have county testing as well. And the hope is that when we get them to you, that worst isn't going to happen. Okay, there's gonna be tweaks, there always are. But that you can start working when you actually go live and keep going. That is the goal and the idea.
We kind of switched to 3 levels of testing. So we switched to automated testing, where we're testing it internally, just running anytime there's a change, we can retest it automatically. We also are doing a lot more. We have actually hired, contracted some testers to help us go through and test it kind of at a level before it even goes out there. And then my voice doesn't really loud, so.
I could hear you fine.
And then the 3rd level of testing that we have started doing is we're having some counties test, and we're at that point with report generator and with Camel, where we're getting it out there so that they can test it and kind of do some real world kind of testing before we release to everybody. I think the good side of this, and that kept me up at night worrying about, you know, if was there stuff gonna be all that what wasn't tested or that was gonna blow up. I mean, that's the worst thing, I think, the most frustrating thing for a user. The downside, I guess, is that it does take a little longer in the process for us to go through and test it, but I think the final product will be a lot better.
And of course, the other thing is that your data is messed up. That wouldn't be good either. Okay, so category maintenance. This really will look a lot like your green screen, and a lot like your green screen program. We didn't add like any fields. Your header information is just what it is now. It means the same thing as it did on the green screen. The nice part and the addition here is that when you're putting in your detail categories, inserting is like really nice. You can just add a new one. And what this did is it went out to your files and it renumbered everything below that. Because we inserted like 4. So 5, 6, 7, 8 all got renumbered 1 down. Of course, if you add to the bottom, that doesn't have to be done because there's no renumbering needed. The other thing is deleting. Okay, so any of you that have tried this before know that we again go out and check if that item is being used. Because if it isn't, then we'll delete it and we'll move everything up and renumber. But if it is, we need to know, you need to renumber that yourself first to give it a different number. And what we had done is we gave you a listing. Now we generate a PDF. And we've had the ask that instead of a PDF, it be an Excel. Is there, what are your thoughts on that? Do you care? Okay. There we have it. Any questions on category maintenance? Like I said, it's pretty much the same. Okay, we will move on to table maintenance. And one thing I want to say about, this, and this goes for e-tax and CAMA and all of these, is that if you are not given the authority by your bosses, in this group, the assessors, to do table maintenance, you won't even see it on your tabs. It won't even be there. That goes for all options. All options in CAMA e-tax will be given to each user. And on the green screen, it was really hard to do that, but here it's not hard at all. And so the downside, of course, is that you don't even know an option exists and what it does if you don't have access to it. So hopefully we can figure out a way to kind of mitigate that part. But with certain items like our table maintenance, I think it will be a good thing, because then it won't be this table got changed and how did that happen? Because tables run your whole system, as you well know. All right, let's hop into the table. So this, again, looks a lot like what you have. I mean, it's a different look, of course, but the idea is the same. When you do have different pages, we added the arrow at the top, so you can just go through your pages. On the green screen, you know, you have to use command keys to go forward or backward. This, the arrow situation will just help you do that. Our status at the, not status, I'm sorry, structure. This is pretty much also the same as the green screen. The only difference, and I want to talk about that for a minute, is we had decided that we were getting rid of multi-page tables. When we talked to just about 3 or 4 of our users, we discovered, yeah, we're still using those. So the question is, how attached are you to multi-page tables? Because we think we can convert them pretty easily. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, in a table, you can give different pages different categories. And what we're suggesting is we would like to make each of them their own table. You won't have to do anything except maybe tell us what table number you want it to be. We would do the conversion. And we actually do that on the green screen before we move to eCAMA, so there's one less thing going on. Do we have any?
Can I clarify, so like if I have basic and a base and finished average good, I have that all, I'm going to make a separate table for average good, excellent, no? I'm going to do that.
No. They were like one-page table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about they're all porches and they're just different kinds.
How did you have it? Right.
Yeah.
It's like up there.
We're not talking about that.
That would be for porches that are a lot. So that's the multiple. The ones that I remember, that was a lot of what that we used it for was for porches. So you had your 4 season, your 9 season, your open, yours.
As pages?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that.
We're not.
No. I'm talking about, oh, do we have one here even? We didn't think it's on here. Okay, on your miscellaneous extras, you had fireplaces. Obviously, that's just a one pager. It's, this type as your category, and then you have one column. That's page one. Page two, what would another house extra be? Plumbing. You have, toilets, vanities, I don't know. That's page two. It's a different category, but it's just a one pager. Anybody understand what I'm talking about? I don't think you have these the way you think you do. So,
Yeah, just jump in, just one.
I can put that up top for G.
yeah, our page is going to have different categories. Page one is fireplaces, page two is fences, page three is plumbing accessories. So in your category file, you have three categories. You have fireplaces, fences, and plumbing. Here, and let's hop back. Oh, we have to go to categories on green screen. You maybe just go into one. Table and page number, right there. So your fences say table 5, page 1. Your plumbing says table 5, page 2. What was the other one? Whatever. Fireplaces. Say table 5, page 3. So you have one table, 3 categories attached to it, different pages. That's what we're suggesting getting rid of. And so I think that this whole thing was probably not needed. And what we need to do is just to go back and look at your data and see if you do in fact use it. And Jeff would be happy to do that. Okay, so sorry, we got off the beaten path. Okay, so let's go back to structure. So columns, it works the same way as the green screen. You have the 6 options that you can choose. And then you go down below, and if it is in fact like house square footage or something you're going to input, you would be able to do that. You have your insert arrow again, which allows you to insert. And then your nice delete, which allows you to delete. Now, obviously, you can't do that on categories because they're they're set back in the category maintenance. And this is the row, which is kind of the same drill. All right. Okay, so that's the structure, which, like I said, looks a lot like the green screen. If you want to edit the table here, you can hit edit, and it will then open up the cells, and you can edit this like one at a time. And you would submit it, save it, and it would be changed. If you want to use the percent or the amount, we would require you to export it into Excel. And over here, it's taking a while. It wouldn't take that long at your screen. So you see all the gray area there? That is not going to be editable. So whatever you export, however many lines and columns you export, you're not gonna be able to like add a line down here. You would have to do that up at the green screen level and bring it down.
Yeah.
Sorry. Down here, all you can do is edit the cells. And you see that we have the pages down there of your porches. And then when you're done, let's save it. And when you go back and hit import, just click right there. And it goes back to the last place you saved. And you can select it and bring it back in. Okay, thoughts?
When are we gonna get it?
I think we're hoping summertime. Of 24. Okay, well, we'll move on to personal maintenance then. So when we come in here, you probably noticed your grid loading. You can load your grid and you can choose out of the grid. All maintenance programs in CAM and E-Tax are that way. If you know your parcel right off the top of your head, you can just type it in and get right to your first screen, because sometimes the grids, and especially over here, the VPN are loading, would load slowly. So you can just type that in and we're into this parcel. This screen looks a lot, looks familiar. The only thing up in the corner, we have the notes, which you have that as well, but going in here and you can add notes and you can view notes and you can view tax notes. Okay, so let's go back, and the other thing up in the corner is view previous years. So when this is CAM inquiry. When you're in regular CAM inquiry, you can input your parcel. This passes in the parcel. Tells you at the top that you are in inquiry. You can go through your years. You see we're in 23. We can go back. We actually aren't carrying that much history, but you all have it. So you can go back as far as you like, and then you can go through the screens. Okay, so we'll hop out of inquiry and we'll go back to actual maintenance. Yes. And you saw Ethan hop over to that arrow way on the right. So this is by user yourself. You can rearrange your screens You can rearrange them every 5 minutes if you want to. But what would be probably more realistic is if you're working on residential, you would keep your house QTA and all of that forefront. If you're working on commercial, you might bring that to the top, anything like that. If you see at the bottom, skip, some of you I know don't use the miscellaneous extra. You can just pop that down and you don't have to see it. If you do use it in your county, but occasionally, you can still skip it and just go to it, bring it back up. It's just as easy as popping it back up and you can see it on certain parcels. Okay, so let's go, so the house header. We have our interior, exterior, and inspection dates, and that's still all there, the history that you can see. Of when the property was visited. And we have our codes telling us different things we want to remember about when it was visited. And the initials of the person visiting. And down below, we have, just like the green screen, the same, the quadrant edition, neighborhood, and then our house summary and garage summary information. And next we go to our CPA screen. So we are working with Apex to get that all up and running, and we're really close, but we didn't quite make it today. But the Apex option will work basically the same for you. It looks a little different, right, Preston?
Yeah.
But it functions the same.
We're kind of testing a new version of their Apex that will allow us to run on here. So that's what we're they're just kind of coming out of beta into a full release. That's safe to say.
It's still in beta. I'm not 100% sure where we're going to get a full release, but.
By summer. By the time it comes out, for sure. But it will function the same. You'll go down, go to your sketch, you'll come back, and it will bring your categories and square footage back. And of course, we still kept the save so that you can save certain line items that you don't want deleted when we're bringing back what is sketched in Apex. This is editing a line item. So anytime you would click on it, it will bring you up into edit mode to change what you feel you need to. On the house QTA screen, if it isn't a save item, you probably aren't going to be changing the house or type or the square footage, because that came back from Apex. But the other items are an option to change. Okay, sure. And then of course this, yeah. Yeah, this is how you get to your adjustment. And you can choose the ones you want to put on that line item. Okay, rearrange, no, we'll do that on other buildings. Isn't this one what you're talking about? Yeah, okay. Okay, so other buildings, so you can rearrange, like if you have another storage bin and you would do an add new and it would end up at the bottom. You can just then take that from the bottom and pop it up there. to get them all together, so you can see them as one. Yes. Yes. Now, you know, on the green screen, we had that going on where it would, when it came back from Apex, it would have highest square footage first. So what's the feeling on that? Keep doing that? Okay. Well, if that's the case, we'll probably continue to bring it back by square footage like we do, and you can just pop it around however you wish. Okay.
Are you able to link, so if I have a whole shed that has a leave to and an open porch on it, am I able to? Yeah, because now the green screen is maybe 111, so we can do those together. Can we still do that here? Sure. Just show that.
There it is.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, and that's something else I should point out. I mean, yes, it is still there, but that scroll bar on the bottom, we can't show even in eCamera, there's a restriction of how wide it can be. So the scroll bar is there so you can see on your fields. If you know that you grouped it, you can just use that to see that. Yes, there is a comment line, and that would be in that slush field too.
Yeah, it's the very end of that.
So it's there, and you see that you've been rolled over to the comment.
Yes. No.
Can you move columns around, like if you want different columns showing?
Not at the moment, just because there's an issue with if you pull that column off of the grid, it's just kind of gone until you reload that grid. So. You're adding that to building, you have to that your. Like, go back and make, and then that's the whole part also. For the time. Yeah, so. Are you good on that part? Okay.
Fifty by 50.
Program.
Right, but it's calculating all of those for us, correct?
Yes, the.
It'll calculate, yeah.
Yeah, so you can just go through, after all your. Your spend.
Okay, we'll have to look at that. Yeah, I don't think it does.
Straight wood.
So when you put the length of the width, is there any way that it calculates square foot on top of it?
I think we've had this discussion before.
We did.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. No, we don't. No.
I demoed this.
And what was the reason again? There's a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in that sense, then you've got more options. Like the example that we given was the entire share. If you have 40, but only 20 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Extras, additions. The approval program.
Do you think that we could calculate it now? Awesome.
A building is rectangular or something, so it's less like,
Mm.
30 square feet because it's not, it's really done. Actually, it's one building, right, or, well, it's not.
That gives you this group. And good 40 is there, and in group 1, all that all kind of thing.
And the other thing is, if we calculate it right there, you can override it. Right there, and unless you would change one of those, we're not gonna like recalculate every time you go in. We wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think you need for, you put it in and calculate that you can still walk, maintain, and change it.
Yeah, right there.
I don't think that would be, that would fix all the issues if you went out and go, yeah, that's not what I want to do, I want to use this. As long as they don't change it again, if they went out there.
And change one of the square feet out.
Around that, I think that would. That if people want to chuck it, they can use it, if they don't, they can go change what they need to be. That's, you do that's good. Obviously, you want one, it's one. Yeah, I can see why you want.
But that's why you group them, biggest price we want.
Yes.
Okay? We're okay with that? Maria? Okay, so thanks, keep asking.
Getting.
I think we'll have a task. Yeah.
Tax.
Oh, we should be sure we've done that.
Hell.
Did you?
Yeah, that's over here.
What?
Do we have it here?
Yeah, we did. It was on camera. Oh,
Isn't it in here?
it is. Yep, yep.
Sure. Okay, so we're evaluation maintenance, and there's a little question mark over on the right on all screens.
Open hand.
And that will bring you to our help. And in eCamera and eTax, you will have all online help. Obviously, we will allow you a way if you want to. It will be your manual too, so there will be a way if you want to download the whole thing as a PDF and just keep it somewhere and have it for yourself, you'll be able to do that, but on an option by option basis, you will be able to see your help online.
It's context sensitive to a certain extent where it knows what's.
What day, yeah,
Yeah.
screen. Yeah. No. Okay, so the first thing is the screens you can build. This will be way nicer than the green screen. You can just move your fields around, like that's how you would arrange your screen. If you decide, well, I don't want these miscellaneous fields, you can just X them. They're not gone. You see that little unused field up there? Just anything you decided not to use goes up there when you exit. Put an X on it and like kind of delete it from your screen. The top row are your mandatory fields. You can't get rid of them. You see there's no X inside the top row and a half or whatever. Anything else you can arrange by moving it around. And you can use the X to get rid of it if you don't like it. And then when you decide, yeah, that looks about right. Then you have your demo screen. I don't think you'll call it that. Is it for the user?
No. I think that's for accountants.
Yeah.
Okay, so along those lines, anything that is in the green screen will come down, will be converted. Anything you build here will not go back. And you're probably wondering, well, why would that matter? Well, we may have users that kind of play with this system and then still go back to the green screen to work. And it's like, well, where's that screen at? But to your point about could it be by user, when we get to eTax fully, that would be a possibility. It's just that right now when we're converting the green screen and going to this and all of that, it just won't work out. But that's something we can make note of, and that would sure be a possibility that it could be by user. Okay. Okay, so the skipping of the fields, you know all about that. If you want to skip one, you just exit and put a next by it, it will skip it. One thing we have talked about at our user group and decided to do is our MP link up. Okay, so this was an option on the green screen way in the custom menu somewhere, or the extra or something, where you could go and you could just work with your MP groups and you could add parcels and you could change the choices and just do it like a simple way like that. So we decided to just bring it into value maintenance. Why bury it? Why bury it in a separate option? And along those lines, we decided, well, if you're gonna work with your MP group, there's maybe a few other fields that you would need. Meaning, you can change your homestead code. And if you change your homestead code and you change it to a 3, well, then you're gonna have to have your percentage because it's a fractional. And if you're adding to an MP group, well, I just bought a house for my daughter, so hey, I guess I need the relative flag. also the limits percentage. So what we did is we enhanced this to the point that we hope you can actually do your work here. Because the point is to rearrange this MP group and make it so. Okay, of course, we're assuming this doesn't affect values. So you can do your work here and be done with it. It isn't like, oh, well, I guess I can change the choice, but now I have to go into value maintenance anyway, and I have to do this, this, and this. And that's the idea here. So now we'll actually go into our value screen. So this is pretty familiar looking. We have at the top your messages about what exists, and hopefully there will be TI there, TIF, in a few weeks, not maybe on this parcel, but and we have our secondary name we can use, and this does do a tax capacity calc by record. So when you would change a value, like house and garage, like we're real close to hitting the exclusion, even at the higher level. I think you're okay.
Right.
So when we submit it, comes back and shows us what happened with our percentages. So if you remember on the green screen, this was all on a separate screen. That market value, the TC percentages, all you saw was that the market value changed. All you saw was your EMV and your TMV, that's it. So we added this on the bottom so you can, first of all, you don't have to have a separate screen. And second, you can get a snapshot here of what happened. Okay, one other thing we want to point out here is the multi-year. So what this is it's an inquiry that we can get a snapshot of these fields, and you probably recognize it kind of from inquiry. You see, you can get it, you can show you the details, and you can go back and forth through the years. And if you're trying to compare a lot further back, but it will compare the 4 years side by side. Social Security. So obviously this is scrambled data. This is nobody's Social Security, nobody's name. This works the same as your green screen. We have our vet, and the reason we have that, if you remember, is because we need to, when there's 2 or even 3 names, we need to identify which one the vet is. So we know which Social Security that is tied to this parcel, that's vet, and then the non-occupying spouse. In case spouses live separately, but they are married, so they can each have a homestead. And then are actively farming down at the bottom. Those get reported in the PTR file. Okay. And Lake, I think you're all familiar with that. Lake is also on parcel maintenance, but we brought it into value maintenance as well, and it is on the green screen. Okay, any questions on value maintenance? Okay, we're just gonna show you one last option. Yeah. as with the green screen, you have to have access to social security maintenance to be able to do it. Not everybody will see that, even if you have access to value maintenance, you may not see that. So increase, decrease, I know that a lot of you, just use your hands, landfill. But sometimes there is a need for this, and, so this really functions like the way it always did, but what we tried to do is, of course, clean it up, make it better. You'll notice those assessment codes, those groups I was telling you about, they're here as well. They're all over the place where you choose assessment codes. The one thing we added, because on the green screen, when you use increase, decrease, if you maybe get ahead of yourself, you can mess up your files. Because if you run an increase and you decide that isn't what you wanted, so you try and come back and run the same decrease, you may not end up with the same values. So what we did here is we added a proof report. And what that does is, and then of course there's the calculation, which means I'm ready to go, this looks good, I'm gonna do it. But what the proof report does is it gives you a listing of the changes that are gonna happen, so you can look at them before. So let's just run this even. So we just ran the parcel range. You didn't see that. It tells us what options we took, and then it will show us so again, it shows us what options we took, and then we get down into the listing and it shows us, okay, I was doing house and garage, right, or just house and garage, no, and site, yeah. So it will show us what happened, what was our top, what was our current, and then what it went to. And we can just go on down the line and look at that and make sure that's what we actually want to do.
Just.
Thinking in Excel as well.
This report and all of your report.
Mm-hmm.
I think that beneficial. Yeah, now, for it, but like say a step of putting it in.
I think that's doable, sure. The other thing we had was the error report. Okay, so what's an error report? How can you get an error? Well, if you accidentally put in 50% instead of 5%, you could get fields that are too large for our database. And so, again, proof, gonna catch this before we get an error when we're trying to update. We're halfway through our file and we've updated half, and now boom. This will tell us that. And I've looked at enough stuff to know that I meant 5, and I even looked at the options I picked, and here's 50 sitting there, and I didn't even catch that. So this will help us just in case. Just in case. Okay, any questions other than Excel option? Anything else? Anything in the chat? Okay. Okay, overall, any questions before we wrap up here? Well, we thank you for coming. It was great to get together. It's been a while. And
That's good.
yes. Okay. Okay, so safe travels.
I guess I should have brought that up, like, yeah. Good, how are you? Yep.